Keep My Office Clean is an emerging leader in providing office cleaning solutions in Morris County and its surrounding area. If you own, rent, or manage corporate space, then you understand that keeping the private and common areas clean and well-maintained helps create a pleasant and productive environment. Keep My Office Clean is one of New Jersey's top emerging cleaning companies, specializing in providing a wide range of services for your office space, including recurrent cleaning, carpet cleaning, floor waxing, power washing, and more. For more information, call 862-263-0626 or visit www.keepmyofficeclean.com.
You are listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast with your friend, host, all-around good guy, Paul Valverde. Now, on to the show.
What's shaking New Jersey? Welcome to another episode of the New Jersey Business Podcast. Today, as special guest, I have Daniel Scola. He is the managing partner of Hoffman Baron, LLP. They are a full-service law firm specializing in all areas of intellectual property, both domestically and internationally. Dan, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation to be with us today.
Thank you, Paul. Very happy to be here.
Well, I appreciate that you taking the time to be with us. And I really want to dive into the topic of intellectual property. What does it mean? What does it really mean? Because I feel that there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about this. And I think you are the guy to clarify everything for us.
Sure.
So I don't know if you'd like to begin perhaps by sharing a little bit about yourself, about your background, about the firm before we dive into this topic.
Yeah, sure. Be happy to. So intellectual property really deals with ideas and the protection of those ideas. So all of us in the intellectual property community generally have backgrounds in science. In fact, to be a patent attorney, which is many of our people are just patent attorneys, in addition, you need to have pass a federal bar in addition to the state bar. A lot of people don't know that. But the reason for that is because they want to make sure you have enough science understanding. So they have requirements, and the federal bar actually is harder than the state bar to pass. It's got a very low pass rate. So they make it very difficult to get in. But usually people have either some advanced degree in science. In my background is chemistry. We have people in engineering, and we have people in IT, the science, computer science areas. We have people in manufacturing, engineering, and in all kinds of pharmaceutical areas, biotechnology, almost any area that you can imagine, because there's lots of science going around. So you have to have people qualified. And a lot of us in the earlier days when I began got interested because we see that there's so many people with great ideas out there. And great ideas are what make business go, right? Every good business person has a good idea. And how do you protect that? Because if you can exploit that properly within the bounds of what the law will allow you, and it does allow you a certain monopoly for a period of time. That's what intellectual property is about. So you get to own that idea exclusively with the protection for just a period of time to allow you to develop it and make money. And in turn, you're teaching the public what you do. That's really what intellectual property is. So if you're going to make inroads into intellectual property, let's say you get a patent or a branding, like a trademark, or if you have a creative expression, like in a copyright situation, which could be media, it could be books, it could be music. All these are expressions of ideas and can be protected with the legal monopoly. The Constitution provides for it. So for patents, you can get it for 20 years. For trademarks, you can get it 10 years at a time, as long as you keep using it. You get another 10-year extension. For copyrights, it's for the whole life of the author plus 70 additional years. So these are very powerful rights that people can get. And a lot of people say, well, what does intellectual property really mean? Well, think of it like this. You have your house and you have your land, right? That's called real property because it's a tangible form, right? So it's easy to understand. Intellectual property is sort of intangible. It's the idea. So what the law says is you take those ideas and you reduce them somehow to some tangible form, we will let you get a monopoly on it. And so that's where we come in. So our focus is just on the protection of ideas, or ideas, enforcing the protection, for example, as well, policing, the ideas to make sure people aren't, walking on your property,
Mhm.
essentially. And in return, the government is saying, we'll give you this monopoly, but teach us how to advance the progress of science. If it's a branding, teach us how to make this popular. So if you teach the public something, we'll give you some exclusivity for a limited period of time. Oftentimes people say, oh, I want to patent that trademark, and it's so common, and I wouldn't expect anyone to know the difference, really. I never knew it before I went into intellectual property myself. But patents cover things like, products, machinery, it could be gadgets, it could be processes, it could be compositions like a drug formula. Trademarks are brands, like they are names that we think of, like Tide is a brand for detergent.
Yeah.
And those are very powerful too, because if someone says Tide, you're getting something of value, right? Trademarks are very valuable to the consumers. And then copyrights are about, artistic expression. So, this form that we're doing right here, this is a copyrightable situation because it's our expression in media of what is happening on your show. So, that gives you an idea of what we do as a firm.
Yes, I'm gonna repeat back to you what I think you said, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, and this is gonna help also our audience. So you're
Sure.
saying that in intellectual property, it covers a variety of things.
Mhm.
Not only what people generally think, like what they will see in the movie when they talk about intellectual property, like some secret formula or something
Right.
pharmaceutical or some kind of computer software, but it could also be tangible things. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then
Absolutely.
there is an aspect of it that protects the so it protects the idea, but then there is the when you do a copyright,
Mhm.
a form of intellectual property that you're protecting, but it's more protecting the artistic expression of the idea.
Yes, very good. You made a very good distinction there. So the patents go to more the usefulness, the utility of it. Like if I want to show you how to do something, or if I have a particular machinery that works, I have a cell phone that works a certain way. Okay, it's the usefulness. And the copyright is just the expression of that idea, of that artistic art or form. And when we say art, it doesn't mean you have to do a painting. It
Right.
means the idea expressed in some tangible form. So it could be text that you're writing, it could be a painting, it could be the media that you produce, it could be a song that you write, and it could be both the written as you write it on paper, it could be the performance of that song. So, so you see many patents out there on products. Next time you pick up a package in your supermarket, look on it and see if it says patent number or patent pending or patents on it at all. Oftentimes you will see that, and that indicates that it's covered by intellectual property.
And so when you mention trademark, so
Mhm.
trademark is more along the line of like names and symbols.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So the brand names something that you decide you want to, come up with some fanciful expression of something. Like, who would think you would use tide? Because tide gives you the indication of, like, if you're at the shore, when the tide comes in, it makes these, sort of the white foam. So
Right.
that's what detergent makes, right? So they came up with the word tide to describe their detergent. So that's essentially what happens, you see. So they
Yeah.
come up with interesting names, but yes, it's that, and it indicates where the product is coming from. That's what a trademark does. It tells you the source of the goods that you're going to buy, so you remember that source.
So if you were to trademark something, will you trademark a business? Will you trademark a product? You could trademark both.
You can trademark names for businesses.
Names
You
for
could
business.
trademark names for products. You can trade also slogans. Slogans could be considered a
Slogan.
trademark, like, yeah, like something that is not, as long as it doesn't describe exactly what you do, then it can be a trademark, because it can't be a noun. Like you can't say, I'm going to call that a chair, and it's actually a chair. No, that the brand can't be chair if it's in fact what it is, right? I'll tell you an interesting story, a super glue story, because everybody knows super glue, right?
Yeah.
Right? Super glue, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I was on the ground level of the company that was making the very first, what was then called fast setting glue, and they wanted to come up with a brand for it. So the marketing vice president, and I was a brand new attorney back then, and I really was just learning the ropes. And he came to me and he said, I've got this great name. It's called Super Glue. We're going to come out with it. I think we're going to put a huge amount of money into it. It's going to be a big seller. Well, he was right about being a big seller. He was right about putting a lot of money into it. He was bad about the name. And I said to him, well, I know I'm sort of green on this, but my understanding is that the name glue itself is not protectable. It's because it's just the name of something that sticks.
Yeah.
And super, I like it. It's catchy, but I don't know that that's protectable, because it sort of describes how the glue, is that it's really quick and it does a great job. And from all the trademark law that I've read, that's probably not protectable. He said, we're going to go with it. You can only recommend, right? You can't tell people you can bring a horse to water, so to speak, but you can't make
Right.
it. So it was a huge success. However, he left the company and he started his own company called the Super Glue Company. And he put out super glue. So he actually listened to my advice,
Yeah.
and we tried to stop him, and we could not stop him. So the name super glue is generic now, and it can be used by anybody.
Wow.
So you have to consult a lawyer as to whether that you think it's strong enough to actually go and protect. But that's an interesting little story I hadn't thought before today to
Yeah.
talk about.
No, but I think it's great. I think it's great because oftentimes when people are thinking of names,
Yep.
they're not thinking so much from the perspective of if is this name something that could be protected as a trademark. They're
Right.
thinking more from a marketing perspective.
They
Is
do.
it marketable? Is
They
it like super glue is super marketable because people know it,
Yeah.
there's no friction because
Right.
people know what it is by name,
Yes.
right?
Very true.
However, it is not. So I guess you got to find the balance between what would be allowable by law to be protected and also marketable as well. Or I guess that's why sometimes you will
Yeah.
have I guess a legal name and then other names that used to describe either the product or the business, etc. Right?
Oh, you're right on. You're right on. A good trademark does not describe the product, but it's kind of like a fanciful, like who would ever think to name this, but it's catchy.
Nice.
So I tell you, a lot of them, which were really quite good, went generic because they weren't policed. Elevator. Did you know elevator used to be a trademark for moving stairs? How about this one? This is very interesting. Uh, adrenaline. Adrenaline was a trademark. It went generic because it was used so often
Right.
by people, instead of using the real name, was epinephrine. That's the chemical name.
Yeah.
Adrenaline can be used by anyone now. You can lose the trademark, even though it can be a good one if you don't use it right. So that's policing it is very important. So
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing light into that. And I
sure.
think that brings me into another question, which is who are generally your clients? Um,
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So you can imagine there's all types of businesses which have ideas needing to be protected, right? So there's large Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. They could be pharmaceutical companies. They could be manufacturing companies. They can be companies that deal with engineering or software. That's on the sort of the patent side. And then on the marketing side, you can have branding companies that just need to protect their trademarks because the trademarks are very, very valuable, and their copyrights. I mean, like a company like Disney, for example, they rely almost exclusively on their trademarks and their copyrights. I mean, Mickey Mouse is one. I mean, how much more valuable can you get than something like Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah.
So those are copyrighted and trademark types of IP protection that Disney uses all the time, all the time. So we also look at entrepreneurials. I love the small entrepreneurial type of company. Sometimes individual entrepreneurs, small companies, universities, for example, spin-offs from universities. We've had a number of really very, very cool um, inventions that have come out of just entrepreneurs. I'll give you a quick example. There was a couple of doctors from University of San Diego, and they've been working on. Have you ever heard of AFib? It's when your heart doesn't beat. It's afibrillation is the full name. Short is
Mhm.
AFib. It doesn't beat regularly, so sometimes it beats way too fast, and then it stops and too slow, and it can cause real issues. So they wanted to come up with a way to deal with this because there's so many people that have this problem. And they figured out an algorithm by a lot of experimentation over a 10-year period. And they came to me and they said, how can we protect this? And we got we have over 100 patents on their work.
Wow.
And in a matter of 2 years, that Abbott, there was about 4 companies that were trying to buy them. Abbott bought them for $500 million. 2 doctors came up with this, and they built a product out of it, and it worked phenomenally. So I always refer people, if you really have an AFib problem, you want to use that product. That's a
Right.
good product. It really goes to the cure of AFib. So all types of people come up with great ideas, and all you need to do is be able to communicate your idea well.
So
And
I'm sorry, will you say that your target audience then varies depending on, I guess, on what they're looking to do, but it could be a large company or a Fortune 500, as you said, that
it could
wants
be.
to, right?
Mhm.
I,
Absolutely. I love the smaller size because I get to grow with
yes.
them. That's the fun part. Um, you get to put a strategy in place. The larger ones have them usually already, and you're sort of fitting in with the strategy given.
Right.
But the younger ones or the smaller entrepreneurial ones, they don't have a strategy. And the difference between a task and a strategy are night and day.
Mhm.
Just doing something without knowing why you're doing it or how it fits in sometimes goes nowhere.
Right.
So yeah,
So
that's the part I like.
I appreciate that you have a heart and a desire to help us small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I have I guess a question that I think is a misconception from people. Like for example, when someone wants to just register a business, something like an LLC or something,
Hmm.
they will
Hmm.
go on the New Jersey website, see if the name is available,
Hmm.
right? And then they will perhaps want to buy the domain, go online, see if it's
Hmm.
available as well, right? But
Hmm.
there is instances in which there could be a business with the same name registered in a different state,
Hmm.
right? So in those cases, is it because should small businesses trademark their name, trademark their business, or should they not worry about those things? Is that something they should worry about?
Oh, I always recommend anytime you have an idea, whether it be a business name or an idea for an invention, that you take the extra step to protect it. And so I would do whatever I can do to protect that idea because ultimately you're putting money and time and resources into it. You want that to be in order to your benefit.
Mhm.
So yes, file trademark applications where you can. Sometimes you have to work out a deal with somebody else who has a prior right, a higher right to it because they've been using it earlier. Work a
Wow.
deal out with them. You can get a consent type of, just take the extra effort. And it's not super expensive if you do it early. Later on, it's sometimes you can't recapture it. And when you do recapture it, it's so expensive.
Mm.
So that's the one thing I would say. People always have this chicken and egg with the money thing, and I get it. Well, if I had the money, I would do it.
Yeah.
Find some source of money. It's your idea. You're passionate about it. You want to exploit it. You want to succeed. it's what makes the country do what it does, right? It's
Yes.
how business runs. So find it, just find it and get something down to protect, get some fence around something that you came up with. Because, and also don't take your idea and say, it's really, it's not that good. You got to believe in it.
Yeah.
Believe in it. It came from your head, it's got to have value.
I think that oftentimes people see going taking the step of protecting their idea.
Mhm.
It's something that may not be for them because they think like, it's what I have is probably not a big deal, etc. And then as time goes on and what they thought wasn't a big deal suddenly is a bigger deal. They find themselves in situations where they waited perhaps too long to take the proper steps to protect
Very
their
true.
intellectual property.
Oh, that's so often. How many times have you heard someone say, "Look at that. I thought of that 2 years ago."
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
It's true. It's
Yes.
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the things that I would there's two main pieces of advice I would tell entrepreneurs who have ideas. The first is, yeah, be passionate about it enough to do something to protect it.
Mhm.
Don't just, say, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because you can get exclusive rights to it. Why wouldn't you want that, right? The second thing is don't just run around and disclose it to everybody. That's the biggest thing people do. They're so excited. And I understand the
Yeah.
excitement. I get that. But oftentimes the law works against you when you do that. Like in the system in the States, for example, we have a system which we adopted recently relative to when it started in the 1700s. The patent laws came into effect way back when. But recently we sort of conformed ourselves to what other countries are doing to make it sort of uniform more worldwide.
Mhm.
Okay, so we went from when you first invent the idea, that's when your rights start, to really the first to file. So if you disclose your idea to someone and they run to the patent office and they file before you, or if you disclose and you wait too long, you've lost all your rights and you've lost them in any other country as well. So be passionate about it, but get some kind of confidential agreement in place if you're going to go talk about it.
Mm.
That's so important. I don't care if it's not well put together. We have something in place. Something. Go to a lawyer, go online, look for some kind of confidentiality agreement you could use. Do something to protect the confidence of that because you will lose your rights on the patent side. And that's the main thing people don't do. And I can't correct that. No one can correct an early public disclosure. Then it's the public's. You just gave a $1 million idea away.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. That's great advice. I appreciate that. Dan, I had a few questions for you. One of them is I know you have the objective of assembling a group of marketing, manufacturing, and financial experts to help guide your startup clients and entrepreneurs. Can you please tell us more about that?
yeah, so one of my thoughts, having dealt with a lot of young entrepreneurial startup type companies and small businesses is, they often are good at one area and that's what they do, right? And I know this because I do IP and that's the area that I feel most comfortable with and I'm most secure about my knowledge and expertise. But you really, to put together something that's a company, you need a good marketing person. You need somebody who's good at finance and can find money and do projections. And you need someone who's good at the science. And, marrying those sort of expertises. So what my thinking is, I'm trying to get a team where I can, of good advisors that I can recommend to small companies. Like, here's a team that I use, so I'm the IP guy, but you need someone who can help you with the marketing end, to give you some basic advice. Maybe you need the financial basic advice. Maybe you need the manufacturing basic advice. So oftentimes in the past, I've been asked, well, how do I market this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm not a marketing person. So we need to find you a marketing person. So that's my idea, is to sort of have that sort of package in place so that when people, entrepreneurs or young small business people call, I can have something to tell them and,
Yes.
and give them sort of a cohesive, unified, you know, all the areas being covered. So
Yeah.
because I'm not those. I'm the IP guy.
Yeah. I think that's great advice, though. I think that is wonderful because oftentimes especially I believe entrepreneurs and small startups, they get so caught up in the how, and they think I have to learn marketing now. I have to learn this. I have to learn that. And
It's true.
I've learned that it's not so much the how, it's more the who, right? You don't have to become an expert in that field because that's not your field. You just have to know who is the expert in that field and
Right.
work in collaboration with that person. So, folks, you already know anything regarding IP, anything regarding intellectual property. Now
Right.
you know who the expert is, and now you know who you're gonna look for. You're gonna look for the firm that's gonna represent you well. Look out for your
Mhm.
best interest.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna list all the contact information for you and your firm in the show notes so that
Okay.
people can get in touch with you if they have any more questions. I believe we're gonna have comments requesting a second interview. If you'll be open to that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Sure. That'd be fine. Be happy to. Yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation. It's been very, very nice, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Dan, before we close, is there anything else that you would like to add, or you would like to make sure that the audience walk away with this information, something that they have to know?
You know, I would just say believe in your ideas. I really think that's the engine for all of business, and don't give up on it. You'll find the money, you'll find a way to protect it, and then it's just putting the time and effort into it after that. So that's the best advice I can give. And get your confidentiality agreements, please. That's it, Paul.
Yes. Thank you very much, folks. There you have it. Daniel Scola, managing partner of Hoffman and Baron LLP. Folks, thank you very much. Dan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, go to NewJerseyBusinessPodcast.com. That's NewJerseyBusinessPodcast.com. We can't wait to hear from you and your business. You can also visit our website to learn about sponsorship opportunities and how to qualify for a complimentary gift. Thanks again for listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast.
Keep My Office Clean is an emerging leader in providing office cleaning solutions in Morris County and its surrounding area. If you own, rent, or manage corporate space, then you understand that keeping the private and common areas clean and well-maintained helps create a pleasant and productive environment. Keep My Office Clean is one of New Jersey's top emerging cleaning companies, specializing in providing a wide range of services for your office space, including recurrent cleaning, carpet cleaning, floor waxing, power washing, and more. For more information, call 862-263-0626 or visit www.keepmyofficeclean.com.